States. It's Mark from the United States.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Mark from the States. How we doing today? I am doing fantastic. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for coming. I am truly honored and blessed to be able to have a sit down with Eugenia. She goes by Jane for us English speaking people. And we're going to hear about what life was like before February 2022. How she had to flee her home when the bombs started falling, leaving loved ones behind. How her and her husband had to relocate to Lviv and start over, putting her life on hold and making it her mission to do her part for Ukraine by letting the world know what's really going on. We get to hear her hopes and dreams and her fears and concerns, what it was like to live under Russian influence of education, politics, culture. I'm truly honored. So please come sit with me on this big fake couch. I'm going to learn something today, and I hope you do as well. So without further ado, here's Jane.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you. My name is Mark. I am here with Jane, who currently resides in Ukraine. Jane, please, first of all, thank you for coming and giving us your time to talk about what life is like right now for you. This is kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, as I do a lot of, not a lot, but I've done a couple of interviews before where it's just been, oh, how great is the UK? Well, I am definitely getting out of my zone here a little bit. And so I'm very excited to learn something that
Mhm.
that I didn't know, and I'm sure a lot of the people who are watching this didn't know. So if you could first just um, tell us where you live in Ukraine in relation to what is happening around you.
Hey Mark, I appreciate you having me here, and I'm so grateful to spread a word on your channel, the word about my country, my situation, and about the story of Ukrainians. Not only my stories, but story of all Ukrainians. My name is Eugenia, if we are speaking Ukrainian, and I have been born and raised in Dnipro region. However, due to the war, now I'm internally displaced person from east to Lviv city. Uh, First it was Lviv region, then I moved to Lviv city. So yes, I'm living now on the west of Ukraine near Poland border for safety.
Mm. And that must have been quite just hard, I should say.
Yes, unfortunately. Imagine that you have been working all your life and you had a plan for your life that you constructed during your early 20s and middle 20s. And after you did a repairment in the flat, you have bought your own property, you saved all your life, like work your ass off, and you're planning on become a mother, for example, and
Mm.
overnight it changes. So, and you have only a few hours to decide what should you do. Would you stay or would you jump on the train and try to go to the safest place? So
And there are many who did stay.
yes, for some reason, because there are a lot of brave people who voluntarily went on the front line. It's men and women, and we are grateful for this, for them and for their sacrificing their previous life, because life for them has been changed dramatically. And
Sure.
yeah, some people have left abroad, children and women. So some people have gone to the West Ukraine, as I did with my husband, and some people went West Ukraine or abroad and returned. And they also did their choice to return to the Dnieper region.
Wow. Well, we pray for their safety. You mentioned your husband. Is he involved in, or is he able to be with you?
He is with me now, but we are waiting for example, something can happen. He can be gone to the front line in future. Who knows? Because every man now renew their data in the special application. So who knows what happens
Right.
tomorrow? But even if he is not on the front line now, currently he is actively volunteering, donating to army, and trying to help.
Sure. Sure. That's what we've heard. That, yeah, that a lot of everybody is pretty much,
Mhm.
whether it's frontline
Mhm.
or, supporting type activities. I mean, it's all hands on deck, right? So
Yeah.
it's the whole country. Well, we are hoping for the best. Could you tell me what Ukraine was like before February of 2022, before the Russians
Yeah.
decided to
Invade.
invade? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Russia is empire. It has been empire till the full-scale invasion, and it remains to be empire. It was Russian Empire, then it was Soviet Empire, now it's Russian Federation. What can we say? So before the full-scale invasion, it was a war on Donbas region. It happens in 2014. They annexed Crimea. They invaded Donbas region.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at the first time, we have realized that Russia is not our neighbor, is not our friend,
Mm-hmm.
and they are acting only of their own interests, and they are not interested in peaceful negotiation or peaceful coexistence. So everyone were shocked. Yes. However, after 1 year of this operation on the Donbass, um, they have signed Minsk agreement. And at that time, most of population still believe Russia, but now we see that
Mm-hmm.
we should not do it. We shouldn't believe them because they have violated this Minsk agreement and invaded, actually.
Yeah.
So, and everyone were trying to calm down after Minsk agreement and continue live their own lives. However, this situation on Donbas region invoked at least curiosity in our history and relationship with Russia for the since the Bogdan Khmelnytsky concluded this Pereyaslawska agreement with Moscow Tsar. It's far in 17th century. So, and after our like situationship become closer because we signed the agreement with them, and it was a union, political and military union. And since that time, Russia made a goal to make us their sphere of influence. And after the colony, so people started to question and started digging in the historical facts. A lot of YouTube channel has appeared in Ukrainian, and a lot of bloggers started to educate themselves and spread the word. And many people um, started to speak Ukrainian and try to get rid of their Russian roots and Russian mentality, because uh, due to the Soviet Union, due to the Russian heavy influence in 90s on our country, we have been listening to Russian music, we have been watching Russian movies, all the Russian artists were okay for us. So Russian culture also have been studied in universities, in schools, like, yeah,
Yeah.
at
Very
least,
heavily
yes,
influenced, it sounds
very,
like. Yeah.
very.
Now, we talked before this, and you'd
Mhm.
mentioned you grew up learning Russian, and that you are trying to learn the Ukrainian language, or have learned the Ukrainian language and to master it, I should say. Um, what has that been like? Has it been kind of freeing in a way to know that you are, you know, shedding one part of your life and then learning the Ukrainian language, your homeland's native tongue, and can you explain what that transition's been like for you? And has there been any sort of like pushback, I guess?
Uh-huh. Um, I was one of these people who started to ask questions and start their self-education. And in 2021, I decided to implement Ukrainian language in my daily life. Before this, I only used it at work because I was working as a lawyer, and my presence in court required knowledge of Ukrainian because all the legislation and all documentation, official documentation, is in Ukrainian. Yeah. So after I started to implement it, it was hard because it was like passive language. I knew some special terms in Ukrainian language, like professional terms, but had no clue how to use it in daily life. And it was awkward. It was sometimes funny, but I'm glad that I switched even before the full-scale invasion because
Sure.
it was easier for me to adapt on west of Ukraine. Yes, because language politic here is strict. So IDPs, please learn Ukrainian language. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, because people have a collective trauma. If you ever wondered about the relationships between West Ukraine and Soviet Union, you know that Stalin killed a lot of activists, nationalists here on West. They put everyone in prison and torture them. And when Nazi army, like German Nazi, started to advance in 41st in 1931st, then Chekists or KGB, this is a special police, like police of Stalin, if you knew something about this, they were evacuating from West Ukraine. However, they could not and had no time to evacuate inmates who were political inmates, who were just people who had a strong national idea and wanted Ukraine to be independent. So they were innocent. So they just killed them with a machine gun, everyone, and left bodies in the prison. So yes, and today all West Ukraine were speaking Ukrainian language, and it was forceful Russification here and there, and yeah, people have a collective trauma. It's just a response to collective trauma.
So you're saying that Western Ukraine vastly different than Eastern Ukraine that
Yes, a
lies
little
with
bit,
Russia's border.
a little
Yeah.
bit different because, for your understanding, Central Ukraine and Eastern Ukraine was also very patriotic areas, even more patriotic than West Ukraine. Ukrainian Cossacks appeared in Zaporizhia region. Zaporizhia, that now is Russified, obviously, was Russified, but its Cossacks were based in Zaporizhia. It was heavy patriotical like area. However, Stalin did the crime against our country, and not only ours. He implemented artificial famine. Maybe you know something about Holodomor, where Chekists took all the groceries, all the grain, all the money from village people and left them starve to death in winter, and it's continued for 2 years. Yes, and people had a choice. Either they accept Stalin policy, either were deny all the national identity and become Soviet people and go to collectivization, like Stalin wanted to make Soviet Union industrial country, and he needs village people to join collective communes. Maybe you
Hmm.
also heard about this. And no one from village people did not want it, because they have a property, they have a housing, they have a
Sure.
cattle, and they worked their ass off to gain all this. And why should they just give it to someone? Yes, so people were starving, people were dying, children, women, people even eat corpse to survive. It was terrible. It was terrible. So, and when you are fighting for your life, and when you are starving, even starvation influence on chemical properties of your brain and changing
Sure.
people. You know, people just were afraid to be nationalist after the Great Famine, Holodomor. But West Ukraine, thanks God, has not suffered from the famine, because at that time in 1933 they were not under the Soviet Union, so they thankfully avoid it. Um, Thankful to God, and so that is why, in this hard way, all the Ukrainian identity was erased, because either you're speaking Ukraine, either you're and dying, either you're speaking Russian and somehow survive, because you will have a
Sure.
job, you will have a bread, and yeah, that's why, because that is why these two areas of our country are different.
And those feelings are still strong today from back then, which I imagine fuels a lot of
Mhm.
people's emotions and willingness not to, or should I say, willingness to resist
Mhm.
Russia
Of
and their
course,
demands.
that famine makes you more passive, makes you more like indifferent to patriotic feelings, because survival is going to the first place.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So, yeah, obviously, I can never even imagine what you and your family and friends have gone through over the last couple of years. Is there something that you would want the Western nations to know, that the media in our respective countries, and I'm meaning Western Europe and the United States, that our media isn't telling us? Is there something that you would like to, maybe set the record straight? Or I don't know if you've seen how this is being portrayed in our media, but it of course, when it first started, it was on all the time. Now it's kind of only really mentioned when the subject of sending money,
Mhm. Mhm.
military kit, weapons, so on. Is there anything you would like for us to understand that maybe we aren't getting?
First of all, I'm very grateful to US people and US government who provided us the aid. At the moment of voting, then, where this aid was voted for, I was crying actually, and I was watching the online stream. Even Ukrainians, all Ukrainians, 100% of Ukrainians were watching the stream. It was weird that not all even Americans were watching, but all
Right.
Ukrainians were watching. So yeah, and I understand now that Putin puts millions of dollars into the propaganda to spread it through TikTok, to spread it through right-wing political parties, because the quotes of Mrs. Green, Marjorie Taylor Greene, cannot be from my perspective, cannot be democratic one. And you know that all this invasion is not invasion between Ukraine and Russia. It's war against dictatorship and democracy. And I know that US is the country of possibilities, and it's free country, and it's democratic country. So it's your best interest to keep democratic values in Europe, to make Russia weaker. By the way, if we consider Russia as ally of China, then make allies of China weaker
Hmm.
means make China weaker.
And
So
Iran, North Korea, yeah, they've
yeah,
all kind of
you
trying
see,
to huddle up. Yeah.
you see that evil unites. All these trips and business trips to North Korea, to China, of Putin, you
Hmm.
see that they are creating coalition. So, and we should create this coalition too strong, and we should keep together. We should stick together. European Union and US have all the opportunities and all the resources to push on Putin and to establish democracy values in Eastern Europe, because you know that a lot of countries are still in even in Eastern Europe are still under influence of Russia, like Moldova, you know,
Hmm.
Belarus also,
Yes.
Hungary, even if they are in a Euro Union, however, their Orban is not quite democratical guy. So this all should be reworked and made in proper of the values of European Union. If you are a country who is in European Union, so you should act appropriately. Yeah, I
Sure.
think. And
Sure. Okay.
I, I also wanted to say that I do understand your own struggles. I watch YouTube and see that people in US have 2 jobs, 3 jobs, but they still have a low income. I understand that prices are rising and prices for utilities are rising. It's everywhere in Europe, here in Ukraine, at your country. But we should understand that it can be worse if Russia and China prevail. It can be all worse. They can influence your political system and distort democracy in your country.
Understand. Yeah. Yeah. That's it's unfortunate that the ones that are the loudest, like the one you mentioned, Representative Green, she may not have this job for much longer, but it's unfortunate that ones like her are the ones that are being heard when there's many others who are behind Ukraine, who want to help Ukraine. It's just a lot of people just wonder when it's going to end, and so they want some sort of I don't want to say ceasefire because I know what's happening in Israel and Gaza is overshadowing what's happening in your part of the world, and so I don't like to use the word ceasefire. We want a peace to fall. It's just what I guess you when I say you, I mean the Ukrainian
Mhm.
people are willing. What's the no go line? We obviously you want peace as well, and but you have a line. We are not going to settle for them having Crimea, Donbass region. That's Ukraine, right? And
Yes.
it's
My own opinion is that reaction of the world should be done at the moment of annexing Crimea. All these heavy sanctions should be put at that moment, because at least the dictators could understand that all the action will bring the reaction. But when they annexed Crimea, no one, almost no reaction.
mhm,
They did receive the sanctions, but it was a minor sanctions.
sure,
Now I see that sanction mechanism is improving, and economic of Russia is suffering now. We have seen the news, and yes, it's confirmed. Um, yeah, of course, every woman in Ukraine, every child in Ukraine, and soldiers who are not sleeping in the comfortable bed but in trenches under the artillery fire, they all are dreaming about peace. And in our church, we're also praying for peace every single sermon. However, peace in what price? If Russia occupy Ukraine, and it will be like peace, so no war, but we occupy it, you guys, then it will be even worse situation that we have now, because we will come back to Soviet Union when all the people with the identity, Ukrainian identity and idea of sovereignty will be tortured in the chambers, in the torture room, and will be killed, and members of their families also will be deported maybe to Siberia, somewhere there, just to drop to die. Yeah, and we do not want this. Our soldiers are fighting and giving their blood on the front line, not for occupation. So I believe that ending of the war, of course, it will be blessing if war will end, and Ukraine will be sovereign country, and its territory will be restored. And yeah, so it will be a blessing for all us. We are dreaming about borders of 1991, like
Okay.
yes. So
So like after the Soviet Union broke up
but
and you
at least we have already so much victims of the war, civil population, our soldiers, that at least Putin should withdraw his troops at the line of before the full-scale invasion, before, and pay us for restoration of Bakhmut, for example, Avdiivka, what they have done with these towns. They just erased, how they called this liberation, if they erased these towns just from the earth surface. They vanished them with the bombs. And famous Putin's narrative and narrative of Russian trolls in the Twitter that where have you been all 8 years when Donbass city has been bombed? Please, you can debunk it for yourself right now. You just Google Donbass or Donetsk city and Google Avdiivka. Donetsk that has been bombed for 8 years, and Avdiivka that has been bombed for like 5 or 4 months when they advanced on this town. What happens with Avdiivka and what happens with Donetsk? Donetsk is still existing. People are living there. I know that my friend's mother is still living there because they have ill, disabled grandmother, and they need to like take care about her. So you can Google and see what happens with Bakhmut and Avdiivka and Donetsk.
I can just hear the pain in your voice, and I just feel for you. It just hurts to hear what all of you are going through. You talk about
I just want to mention, maybe I'm sorry for interruption, but
it's okay.
I am actually blessed to live in Lviv, and there are a lot of people who suffered from Russian invaders more than I. But even I, who fled in the first day of the war to Lviv region, my mind and my soul cannot handle to recheck and review my old photos of my house, photos of my flat that I have been saving money for all my life, and then bought it and did a repairment from scratch, So no, when I open the photos, I'm crying.
Yeah, must be hard. Do you know if it's still there?
Yes, my flat is still existing. Yes, I have rented out it to the people from Slovyansk. They are paying for utilities just to take care about fish that have left in the tank. Yes, when we left. Yes, our neighbors received this tank when we were leaving. We said, it's only for 2 weeks. Only for 2 weeks. Because we believe that after 2 weeks, yes, we will come back. But after when we found out that this family from Slovyansk, they fled, and it was autumn, but they were still living in summer kitchen. we decided to let them in and let them pay for utilities, 6,000 hryvnias. It's even it's $150, something like that, or $120, something like that. Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, it must be tough. I feel for you. I really do. With Putin's, I want to just kind of touch back on what you said about his propaganda and the amount of money he puts into that, and essentially how it looks is he has the majority of the Russian population believing what he's saying, or they're only
Unfortunately.
just, or they're just going along to get along, because if you go against, bad things happen, right? So they're just saying the right things if there's a camera rolling.
Hmm.
I know here in the West, we were all hoping for the Russian people to kind of see it for what it was and to rise up. I think that has kind of faded, the hope that that's going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, what do you feel that Zelensky is doing everything he can? We see him here in the States. We see him in London, in the UK, all over the place. Um, do you feel that are you okay with him doing that, traveling like that outside of the country, or would you like to see him more uh,
I
running?
understand. I understand.
Yeah.
I was very grateful to him for not leaving the country in the first months of invasion. Um,
Yeah.
I know he had this opportunity, however, he didn't, and this was a huge step. And I actually did not vote for him, but after his
Hmm.
decision, I decided to believe in Zelensky as a leader of Ukraine, and I believe that he has advisors who take a decision. For example, from the side of diplomacy, maybe Zelensky become a symbol for Western democracy, the symbol of the resistance, and it will be more suitable and more uh, productive to see him in person in UK, for example, to negotiate about some additional ammo or weapons or money for social needs, because all that provided in money, like not in the weapons or not in humanitarian aid, but in equivalent of money, cannot go to the military needs. I know for sure it goes to the salaries of people who are working on governmental organizations. For example, to my mom's salary, because my mom works in the theater. The theater is governmental theater, and they receive a salary because of the aid. So
Okay.
yes, and that Zelensky is going out and about asking for money. Some people are saying he's beggar, but what man can do in such desperate and horrible situation? If I were president, first I would collapse because my I have a OCD. I'm a person who suffered from depressions episodes. I have an anxiety, panic attacks, and it all worsened when invasion
Sure.
has started. Yes, so I will just go. But what can he do? What more can he do? He puts people who can handle the army, who can handle the internal policy of Ukraine, like economic situation, on their places here, and after went to Western leaders to ask for help, because Ukraine will never win this war single-handedly.
Would you say the Ukrainian people, the majority of them, are behind him and what he's doing?
In case of traveling and asking for help, of course, yes. Of course,
Or
we.
just overall,
Um,
just an overall job performance? I hate to kind of just narrow it down to that, such trivial kind of a thing, but just him as a leader. Would
um,
you say the majority approve?
um, for my, I cannot say for everyone. I can only
Sure.
say about myself, and I was happy with him. a lot of months. However, I want him to be more strict and tough with corruption in the country, because our country still have post-Soviet um, governmental constructions and chain of old politicians. Of course,
Mm,
Zelensky brought some new and young politicians, but still we see these old politicians who, from the Soviet Union, who still have a Soviet mentality and get used that in Ukraine there is laws are for people, not for them, not as in
sure.
European Union. So Zelensky needs to get rid of corruption. Of course, corruption is even in US. You have also corruption, and European Union have corruption. And even if we see the United National organizations, some of their statement are saying or alarming about corruption in this organization, because they were celebrating Day of Russian Language in the day Russia blew up the Kakhovka Dam. So it's behind my understanding, but it's okay. I'm not the one or not an expert to judge them, because we have here internal problems that we need to resolve, and we need to watch on ourselves, and we need to start from ourselves. So I want Zelensky to be more strict with corruption, that he implemented new independent structures, new independent police who can investigate all these cases. Because even during the war, we have heard about very vocal cases. For example, eggs that they were buying for army for the high price. So uh, it's unacceptable for me.
Yeah, I understand here in the States, and I know in the UK as well, who sent a lot of military aid and money, and just like we have, and they've trained a lot of your soldiers have gone to the UK to train.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that they there is a question of where is all the money going. It's, and of course it's with any government. I just here in the state of California, we're missing like $25 billion, and our governor has no really idea where it went. So
Mm-hmm.
it happens. But when we're talking trillions of dollars, and for such an important deal as weapons and aid and stuff like that. We all hope that it's going to the people and to where it needs to be the most effective. And of course, you're going to hear stories of corruption and people taking their cut. And you're saying, and you've laid it out perfectly, that it's the old Russian way of doing things, and there's a saying, old habits are hard to break,
Mm-hmm.
and the Russian habit of politics is probably tough to crack. But I think he's doing the right thing, bringing in new people who understand Ukraine, who want change.
Who will
I
grow
think
out
is
outside of
yeah,
Soviet Union. Mm-hmm.
yes, and you'll find that with the younger generation, who didn't live their whole lives under Russian influence. Yeah, and you'll find that hopefully that can kind of sway things back in your favor for sure. But what can he do? I mean, it's a situation we can, being here in the States, and I can't speak for the people who are in the UK who are watching, but we all obviously are not having to deal with this directly, so we can have our opinions of, we think Zelensky should do this or he should do that, and that's great for the clicks on the media narrative, but we're not in his shoes. What would we do? Who knows? So
Who knows? Yes.
this is kind of a precedent, really, when you think about what he's doing. He's doing something no other leader that I can think of in recent memory, by visiting all these places and spreading the story, spreading the word, and asking for help. And I really believe we should help. And you're right. We all have our problems in our own country. We're all dealing with what we're dealing here in the
Unfortunately,
States and the UK. We have a huge immigration problem. And that is, people want that addressed. And I would imagine most people are okay to help Ukraine and send money and weapons and all that stuff. But we also want our problems addressed. And I think that's where that struggle is, and what Representative Green was talking about. Maybe not in the most elegant way, but we want, take some of our problems serious too,
of
before you take
course,
care of another
of course.
country's. I think that's just kind of where the issues lie. What are your concerns? I don't want to say fears, because we all can imagine what your fear is of what is going to happen or what could happen. But what are your concerns that might happen?
Hmm.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm actually asking it
Yeah,
in a good way, but
uh,
just how you're
I
feeling
understand.
about where things are and where they're going.
The biggest fear of mine is that me or my loved ones will be tortured in the chambers for several
Huh.
days and after killed. Even this is the worst fear that I have.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately. Or that missile will hit my loved ones or mine house, and we will slowly die under the rubbles for several hours. This is also fear. Regarding the concerns, um, the real my concern is that war will be freezed, like freeze the lines of control after under the pressure, for example, China or West or something like that, and it will be like Minsk agreement. What Putin did after Minsk agreement? He took the Crimea, put war bases on the Crimea, put the ships to Black Sea, and started to missile us from the Crimea because it's closer than to missile us from the Russian
Sure.
territory. What he done with Donbass land, he put also his troops there, put the trenches and all these mines fields and these teeth of the dragon, so
Yeah.
we were not able to advance fast, for example, and just created military base from this territory. So who will prohibit him to do the same with these nearly occupied territories? And after eight another 8 years in best case scenario, and after the several years in worst case scenario, when we are still trying to heal our wounds here with the broken economy, with lost with Azov Sea that we have lost, he attack us again. And what
Yeah.
should we do? And after this attack, I believe that my native Dnipro region will be occupied, unfortunately. And this is my biggest fear, that they occupied my region and kill my relatives. This,
It's awful.
yes.
Yeah. After Crimea, nothing was really done. There was no blowback for Putin, and he just kind of gave him the
Untied
belief he
his
can just do
hands.
it again.
Yes, yes. Now we see that autocracy and dictatorships acts and reacts more quicker, and in position of force they are pushing until they will not be stopped. So who is stronger? Then if you are stronger, then you will win. It's like in medieval times, but uh, they are ignoring all international laws, all international agreements. This is,
Hmm.
for me, this is surreal. How could it happen in 21st century?
It is surreal. You're right. It's you wonder, you just wonder, and how it can happen over and over and over again throughout history. And you would think one of the issues that you will have to be facing, and that we'll all be facing, but for you, it'll probably be more serious because there's elections going on here in the United States and in the UK. In fact, the UK is having their elections here in a couple of weeks on July 4th.
On Independence Day in the US?
Yeah, it's pretty ironic. And we're also having an election in November. So there could be some changing of the guard, some changing of leadership in both our countries, and who are probably the biggest supporters of the Ukraine, financially, militarily, so on. Does that seem to worry you, or is that just something that is down the road? I can't worry about that sort of thing, and you've kind of just pushed it out, or is there a concern on? I mean, because I don't know what your feelings are on the current leaders of our respective countries, and if a change in leadership is maybe going to benefit you, or I can only speak for my country, and no matter what the feelings are on President Trump, he does have and I hate to say, relationship with Putin. I mean, he's been able to talk to him, and he's been accused of being a Putin apologist because he doesn't want, according to him, he doesn't want war. He wants peace. And that when he gets into office, he will stop the war. He will call Putin and he'll get. Now, I don't know what that entails. I don't know. I hope he does stop the war, but at what price? What are the terms, I guess? And
freezing current line of control, as Mr. Ramaswamy said in the interview. Thanks God he did not elect it. Do you remember Mr. Vivek Ramaswamy, also American politician? Yeah. It's not ending the war. It's just giving a pause to Putin to regroup and maybe attack from another side. They have ambitions on Baltic countries, they have ambitions on Moldova, and to push us to step on our grave once again, So yeah, it just give him extra time, exactly what he wants, because he also offering this freezing of the war. He said, please, I want peace, let's just stop the fire and stay on current lines of control, because he needs regrouping and produce weapons, and he needs time for this. And I'm afraid that it will not give us anything for our future sovereignty. I don't know what about Trump. Maybe he is populist. I will tell you the tale about Zelensky. When he also wanted to be elected, he ran his advertisement campaign. He also said, "I will stop the war on Donbass. I will negotiate with Putin." And after he came to power, he understood that it's not very easy to negotiate with Putin, because you cannot negotiate with the tiger if your head in his mouth. Understand? As Winston Churchill has said.
Yeah.
Only if you have why, for example, Russia did not attack US if Putin is insane enough. Because US have militaries, weapons, missiles, jets, nuclear power, and Russia understand they cannot handle it. Believe me, they all hate American people. Not because American people are bad, but because you are living better than Russians. Believe me.
Jealousy.
Right, only jealousy. Do you know why Buryati, these people from Russia, Buryats troops who came to Bucha or Irpin, why they were so rageous and why they were so wild and savage, these women, children, and men even? Because they saw that in the village, because Bucha is like town slash village. They have houses here, not blocks of flats, but houses, because they saw that in the village people have electricity, people have computers, toilets that flush, and running water, gas.
Like modern
Yes,
amenities. Yeah.
and they ask, why are we not living like this? And they start to steal everything, like even women's bra, because they have no such things.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe that if Zelensky had jets, missiles, nuclear weapon, all these warships, and he decided to negotiate with Putin, well, then negotiation could be more or less fair, because Putin could not handle us, because we also armed till our teeth,
Sure. Well, that would bring me up to my next question. NATO has been a topic of discussion amongst the Western nations and all the countries that are currently in NATO. I believe there are just a couple new members that just joined that also border Russia. And I know Putin is very against Ukraine. If there were as you would call it, a freeze in the war, and the Ukraine were to join NATO, now you have the NATO behind you, which 1 foot into a NATO country, gets a response from every NATO country involved. So you would have, that is why Russia doesn't want you in NATO, because once you're in NATO, you become untouchable, right?
Yes, of course.
So there is maybe a possibility there if you can just get the fighting to stop on however terms. Obviously I have no knowledge in this subject, so I'm just kind of spouting my opinion, but you can maybe get Ukraine in NATO, or at least the threat of that would back Putin off, and then some sort of a deal. Because I agree with you, sanctions should be a lot tougher than they are, because they're just selling their oil to China and to Iran, and they're still selling their oil and gas. Maybe not to the extent as they were to Europe, but they're still funding this machine that they're throwing at you, which isn't. I mean, we talked about this before, but the Russian, they're just throwing bodies essentially at Ukraine, and it's kind of horrible when you think about it, that these people are just being sent off to possibly just die with no training, with old equipment that doesn't work. But it's just his game plan is just like Stalin, throw the amount of people at it is how you overwhelm your opponent, I guess. But I don't know. It's like you said, it's for smarter people than me to figure out for sure. But it's either way, it's not good, right?
We are not a war and political expert with you. However, as far as I know international law, no one will take country with war ongoing on its territories to NATO. And to be a part of NATO, we need to rewrite our constitution and deny our territories, to cut them officially from our lands, and to be like sovereign, untouchable territory to be a part of the NATO. However, maybe for some people it's an option, but for me it's not an option, because I understand that some people, as I said before, has lost everything on these territories. They maybe even were wounded or tortured on these territories, and thankfully escaped somehow. God gave them second chance. Or there are people who just fled and still have a property in these territories, or relatives on these territories, and they want them back, obviously. So we cannot say on behalf of all people of Ukraine. Situations are very different, and Ukrainian people now very angry because situation is tough with the social media narratives, and when
Mm-hmm.
someone said we should do this or we should do that or they should have done that, and people who have these pain spots that you step on it somehow, even unintentionally, they can explode because they have a trauma. They have a
Mm-hmm.
trauma and it's painful for them. What can be trauma for one people, for one person, cannot be for another. But we should consider um, to make it fair for everyone, at least more or less fair.
I agree. It's tough. I mean, it's really hard for me to kind of even understand, being from California, you know. uh,
I have a friend from California, from
you do?
yes. She is not in California now. She's here in Lviv, and
Mm.
she is from San Diego. Her name is Carrie.
Oh,
And when she came to Ukraine, it became more obvious for her what is going on here. She brought her two
sure.
huskies here in the big, huge boxes, spent a fortune to transfer them
Sure.
here, yes. But now she is living here in Lviv and said, this is so beautiful place. And if all my Californians could come here and see this place, they understand that they would understand that this we need to protect, this beauty, this architecture, this people, this community. Yeah, she's actively volunteering in Common Netting Center. We are waving this camouflage net for soldiers, and she now learning Ukrainian and everything. So yes, she's from California.
Yeah, that's about 3 hours south
Uh-huh.
of me.
Uh-huh.
We're both right on the coast, right on the beach. So, yeah, San Diego's a great town. I have a couple questions from some of the viewers,
Okay.
if you're willing to answer them. There's a lot of disturbing videos out there, of course, of what's happening and stuff. And do you find and I guess maybe some might be propaganda, and not to say that Ukraine doesn't have their own propaganda as well, and every battle does in some way or form. Do you find that there are men leaving the country to avoid being drafted? And is there even a draft, or has this just all been volunteer to fight?
My attitude for this, like,
Just, is it true, or do you
yes, of
know,
course
or
it's
what
true.
are your thoughts on it?
Yes, of course it's true. Some men are trying to cross river Tisa to escape, or they are crossing forest from Odessa region. They cross forest and um, appeared in Moldova. Yeah, I know all these cases. I know even cases where famous journalist went to the business trip on the west and did not return.
Didn't come back.
Did not come back. Yes, did not come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. My attitude. I do not know what would happen with me if I were a man. If I were a boy who would possibly be recruited, drafted to the army, and who was, for example, and who could be placed into the forest to attack enemy with the machine gun. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what I would done in their shoes. So my attitude, of course, that it's wrong to leave the country in this way, because if you cross in the border illegally, you will not be able to come back only within a jail. You will get to the jail, after you will be imprisoned, and after you will get back.
So the ones who took off and left, if they were to try to come back, they would be arrested.
Yeah, or arrested for
have to spend some time.
Yeah, not some time,
jail.
but years, because it's violation
Wow.
of crossing the border that has a criminal responsibility for this. If you illegally crossing the border, then you are responsible for this criminal violation. Of course, maybe if in the court procedure, judge will decide that these consequences were extreme, or you were not yourself, for example, you have something mental, then punishment can be softer, for example, like home arrest.
Be a case by case
Yes.
basis.
Yes.
How to figure that
have
out.
a home arrest, for example, but you will not just return. They will detect you, like, yeah.
Sure.
However, I will not judge these people. I will not judge, because if we take in this book and revert to the scripture, it said, never judge anyone, because you will be judged in the same way. Do you want this? I don't want this. So yeah.
So is there a draft? Is there
Draft, like a mobilization, you mean?
Yeah, like it's like you have to go to the front lines.
Yes, of
kind
course.
Of
It's
Yeah.
the law about mobilization.
For all males.
Yes, to
to a certain
renew
age.
their data in the system.
Okay.
And after, like, the center of completion will send you a draft invitation, like, and you need to go to the medical commission first, and after to the training center if medical commission
Sure.
decides that you are able to do it. So yeah.
And obviously, not everybody just goes right to the front lines. Obviously, like your husband, they go into a support role, which is uber important to be able to keep, the military going and the
My
resistance
husband
going.
has not been drafted yet. He renewed
Oh,
his
okay.
data, but he has not been drafted yet. We can expect this, so it can happen with anyone. But he is going to volunteer center voluntarily to wave commonets. So
You must be scared.
no, not exactly, but
I would be so worried.
of course
so
we are
that's
worried.
Yeah. So that's actually interesting, because I think a lot of people just assumed it was a blanket statement of all men are now involved. And from what I'm understanding, it's like they're not all being used right at first. So they're just gradually being drafted, I guess, for the lack of a better word, but is what you're saying. So he hasn't been called yet. But it's more than likely he will at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
awful.
Unfortunately, this is situation we are now. However, government is searching for opportunities to book people who are working in essential enterprises, for example, in a financial system that is essential for example, for security guards, not police, but these paramedics and everyone who are working in this institution, they should be booked. And for example, who are working in governmental banks that are providing financial stability to the country should be booked. So,
well, life's got to go on.
yes, and economics should operate.
You still have to function as a country, even though you're at war. So yeah, which would lead me into another question is a member, Katie, would like you to know, is your family safe? We've kind of touched on that, on your situation. Also, congratulations on third place of Eurovision. Being an American, I have really no clue what that is. I know it's a singing competition. And hopefully that you'll get to play your fantastic football team in the Euros very soon. So that just kind of plays into life does go on. I mean, you're still involved in Eurovision. You still have your national football team that's still out there playing, and it's pretty remarkable.
But you see, that even if we are participating in Eurovision, it's additional exposure for Ukraine
Yeah.
on European area. People are talking about us. And for example,
Yes.
even if you are not into politics, you've probably seen beautiful singers on the stage that performing good, and they're from Ukraine. You're starting Googling the Ukraine, and maybe your views will change.
Yeah. No, it's keeping you in the news.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know how the news works. It's you are top dog for a few days and then something else happens, i.e. Gaza, and you're kind of put on the back burner.
Yes.
Now everybody's talking about this, right? So it's a brilliant way to just keeping it in the news, keeping it on people on the front of their mind. And yeah, it's really important that you still do all those things. And let's face it, it's pretty awesome too. So,
Thank you.
We have Nicole. She would like to know if you're managing to find food and household products. Now, I know where you're at now is probably not the worst situation, but do you see, since the war has been going on, being able to get the items that you normally would see? Has there been shortage of food? Has there been, that sort of thing?
In the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we did have shortages. I have been living for 7 months in small town Truskovets. Yes, the shelves in the grocery store were half up empty. Yeah, and now we do not have such shortage in Lviv. Maybe in the places. Hello.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah. Maybe in the places where the front line is going, or several kilometers near the front line. However, in Lviv, I noticed the shortage of my antidepressants. I'm taking sertraline. Its commercial name could be Zoloft. Maybe you are familiar with this.
Zoloft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, Zoloft is very expensive, and to make it cheaper, I'm buying the analog of the Zoloft with same sertraline, but it's European meds.
Like a generic brand.
Generic,
Yeah.
And it has stopped to be delivered in Ukraine. What happened? So,
medication.
Yes, medication.
Yeah.
Yes, a pharmacy lady said that this is the last pack. Maybe next time you should buy Zoloft. I said okay.
And which costs more.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
Pfizer.
Yeah. Well, we all have our thoughts about the pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer being one of the major ones. And they don't have a good reputation here, basis on what happened during COVID and all that business. Not good. But I'm glad you mentioned on the availability of medication and its how hard it is to maybe what am I trying to say here? It's just able to get it. I mean, imagine if it's like life-saving medication.
Yes.
And you're in the hospitals and stuff like that. It must be just terrible. The worry of hopefully the truck will pull up outside the hospital with our supplies and not be interrupted somewhere. I want to kind of touch on, and here we are already an hour and 11 minutes in, which it's only seemed like it's been 10 minutes for me. So I'm not going to keep too much of your time. We'll finish up here pretty soon, okay? Talking about Crimea, and I know Ukraine is a huge, I think it's one of at least Europe's largest grain exporters. Was. Yes, of course, was. If any sort of solution, whether it be a treaty to end this war, would you're going to need access to the sea for that sort of thing. Now, there's ports on the sea that's not in Crimea, correct? Or am I
Yes,
from
we have
Ukraine?
ports in Odessa.
Okay, Odessa.
Hmm.
So, but would the return of the Crimea be part of, in your opinion, if you were in charge, if you had the president's hat
Hmm.
on, would the return of Crimea be one of the sticking points for you? So it gives you the freedom of trade, the freedom of the use of international water and that sort of thing.
Yes, I think yes. Our economic stagnated after they annexed Crimea, and now when we lost the access to the Sea of Azov and Mariupol,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
unfortunately. Of course, I would like to return it back.
to the original border
Yes, yes.
from the 40s or
1991.
90s. I'm sorry, yeah, the 90s. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just feel for you. I am so blessed that I have gotten to talk to you. Um, you're just a wonderful person, and I pray and hope for nothing but the best. I would love to be able to talk to you again down the
Of
road to
course.
kind of get an update and see how you
Yes, of
are.
course.
Um, you do have a YouTube channel for others
Yeah,
to
yeah, I
to
have.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah. What is it? Please let us know.
uh, um, I have not been a social media. I did not do YouTube or have not been present on social media, just my personal page before the war. But what have made me to start records, some records, first it was records, after it become better, better and better, is
Hmm.
when President Zelensky said that, guys, we are and this war is the mission of everyone. Everyone should be involved and work as a solid, flawless mechanism. And if you have some gifts or if you have some opportunities, you should use it wherever you find wherever you find possible and wherever you find effective against our enemy. And I understood that I speak in English mediocre, but people will understand me. At least they will understand me. And I should do small videos about daily life in Ukraine, how we are coping, how our refugees are coping, what is situation on the front line a little bit. And after I niched down to the daily life of Ukraine, yes, and Zelensky inspired me to create like YouTube channel.
Oh wow.
I even did not mean to become a social media like personality or something like that. I didn't mean that. Just wanted US people and UK people, Australian people, Canadian people, everyone who are speaking English just understood me and understood what the level of catastrophe are we having. Yeah, and people started to subscribe. People started to started to talk to me. They have sent me, look, they have sent me postcards.
That's
Yes, and
wonderful.
this is a treasure. I've bought this mood board and put all the postcards on the mood board. Yes, and it was so amazing and so sorry. Yeah, and so weird to receive postcards from the people I've never knew before, just only online. And my life has changed thanks to this small YouTube community. I have only 4,000 people with me, but it's really warm community. In the Twitter, we also have community, and I'm
Hmm.
grateful to all these people first for correcting my English. They did their best because
I
sometimes.
think you sound wonderful. I can understand a good 99% of everything you said. The only things I didn't understand was when you were talking about Ukrainian towns and other certain things that, obviously I haven't heard of. That's the one thing that the Ukraine war is now all of a sudden we're starting to learn all these town names and the Ukrainian language that we're like, oh, never even heard of this, so it's all new to us. Even here we are a year and a half later, it's still, we're hearing things that we haven't heard before. But I think your English is
YouTube
A-okay.
helped to boost my English, and I'm even I have been passed at tests. My employer wanted me to pass the English test from English school, and they detected me as upper intermediate level. It's great result, I think. And I have made so much friends from this YouTube community, and it helped me not to die socially, because when you left all your friends and acquaintances and family behind, like in Dnipro, and went to area that you have not been lived before, and you know no one from this area, you still need to socialize. You still need people you can communicate with. And first, like a communicational opportunity for me become my social media. After I went to the church and met some people, after I went to volunteer people and volunteer center and made some friends there. However, my small silly videos inspired some people to come to Ukraine and volunteer. And this amazing when I was chopping the potatoes in a Lviv volunteer kitchen, and some guy just approached and said, "Oh, are you Eugenia from Ukraine?" I said, "What? Are you Eugenia? I subscribed on you." I said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry."
You're now a celebrity
for my content. Because sometimes I am embarrassed to rewatch my video. Okay, so he said, "You inspired me to come here because I've seen that it's safe in Lviv." I said, "Relatively safe." And after this conversation at night, it was once missile.
There you go. See, what you're doing is working. You're getting the story of Ukraine out there. And obviously it's working. I mean, I learned you from your friend Trev. And,
Trevor
by the way,
is my online friend, and we have seen each other in person thanks to this YouTube channel. And
he sent me a message saying hello. So, but yeah, he's like, yeah, I can ask if you'd like to talk to my friend in the Ukraine. I was just like blown away. I was just like, if she is willing to talk to me, I would love to do it, because for me, this has been an eye-opening conversation. And I had my kind of just my base feelings on what was going on, but I think a lot of it you've confirmed. And then, of course, you've opened my eyes to a lot of horrific and maybe hopeful and inspiring things as well. So I want to say thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
And thank you, Mark, for giving me opportunity to speak out on your platform, because at least now we have one more ally with YouTube channel. Ukrainian community and Ukrainian supporters have one more ally on the channel with 11,000 or 10,000 friends that also maybe check it. And by the way, if your audience from UK is the great ally of Ukraine, and Ukrainians love UK people so much, because here in Lviv, in volunteer center, we have a lot of people from Scotland, Northern Ireland, all from the Great Britain, but from different regions. They have different cultures and different approaches. However, this diversity, we are learning from them. They are learning from us. So, and I'm also adopting some more culture, American culture also, because the states are different.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for that American culture seeping over. Stick with the UK. You'll be okay for sure.
I'm just we here grow up in the 90s, and all we knew about America and UK, for UK it was London, is the capital of Great Britain. And
Yeah.
US, this is New York and California. That's all. Los Angeles. Sorry, Los Angeles. This is Hollywood and New York.
Yeah.
And now I understand that US is much, much more than this. You know, I have learned a lot about Oregon State. I have learned about that California is not only Hollywood. There's so many neighborhoods, areas of living, and I've learned what is South means, what Southern states, what they are about. What is it, New Orleans? What is it, Alabama State? I subscribed on one girl from Alabama. Her name is Hannah Barron. I like her Southern accent and her content. She's doing catfish. Catfish noodling.
Where she sticks her hand in noodling. Yeah, sticks her hand and has the fish grab onto her arm. Yeah.
This is.
She's crazy. I would never do that.
I would be so terrified to put my.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's like,
no way. She is amazing. I have seen her, and that's just nuts. But that's the way they do things down there,
So yeah, British people and American people, not only British but Scottish people of Ireland, Wales, and other region of UK, they are amazing. Amazing. They taught me so much, and I finally got why Texas has a lot of power outage too. Because they have insulated energy grid. I got everything from the volunteers, and after trying to educate myself, to check the videos and everything, so I'm much more educated now about anything, not about you.
Well, I know a lot of people from the UK are supporting you and
yes, UK
Ukrainians
people
as a
are
whole.
great supporters of Ukraine. Maybe because they stood against Hitler coalition in the 40s alone, when they started blitz on UK, like this bombarding of London, and people really lived in the shelters in the metro. So that is why then they saw these pictures from Kievan or Kharkiv metro. They said, oh, this is we were, and that is why we are sticking together. All the NAFA community, you should check what NAFA community is. They are almost all from UK, but from Canada also. A lot of fellows.
Nice. No. Yeah, it's a ingrained, in their culture to be, to resist and to be tough and to withstand because of their history. I mean, throughout their history. So yeah, I can see the correlation there for sure.
Can I say hello to my friend Trevor and my friend Colin from Edinburgh? Hi guys, I'm happy to be on this channel and watch our interview. And thank you to all Mark's followers and supporters for watching this long conversation.
This is nothing. This is great. It's been an honor of mine, and I'm happy that we're gonna catch up. I would love to maybe in a couple months, kind of just catch up. Of course, we're going to be talking through email, and I'll check in to see how you're doing. But maybe do another interview to see maybe after the election in the UK, a couple months after, we can kind of maybe revisit that and see if that's affected any sort of change in your country. And then, of course, when our election happens, it's a major deal. So, all right, Jane, thank you so much. Please, you and your family take care of yourselves. We're praying for you, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, and I want just to say hello to also all my community and William from US.
Perfect.
Sorry. I'm like on the television.
No, if you've got more, please let it out. It's okay.
I have so much wonderful people who supported me. This is amazing. YouTube channel gave me so much love when I needed it, when I thought that we were left, when I thought that the package of aid from US will never arrive. because of postpone and all this. You know what allegedly made Congressman Speaker Mike Johnson to put this package on vote? Because he personally talked with the family of Christians in Protestant church. He also Protestant, like all America is obviously. Almost all Americans are Protestants. So, like Protestants, I mean that Christians, not Catholic, not Protestants. Yes, Protestants. Yes. Sorry,
Yeah,
accent.
I knew exactly what you were
Yeah.
talking about.
So he just negotiated like you and me, and he realized some things, and he put this package on vote. So personal communication means everything. And YouTube people and Twitter people supported me when I was desperate, and I'm so much grateful for them. So thank you for having me here. I hope this interview will be successful, that some people will discover your channel after this. Maybe this topic will attach new viewers.
Well, my hopes are, of course, for a end to the fighting, flat out. But my hopes for this interview is that the word, your story, gets out and keeps Ukraine on the forefront of people's, no matter how they feel about it, right? You want to at least be the discussion to keep going, because then hopefully something good can come from that, and we can get a resolution of some sort. A lot of people are suffering, and I know with what happened in the Middle East is overshadowing a lot of things, that it's like we got to keep the discussion going, because this is just as important. You know, there are people here who are suffering. It's not just there. And so, yeah, hopefully we can do our part.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. God bless you.
All right.
And have a great productive week.
You too. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Absolutely amazing. How she can have a smile on her face is beyond me. Her outlook, her hopes and dreams, it's just incredible. And I am truly honored and blessed and grateful, all of it, for her to be able to give her time up, to be to get the word out, get her story out, and the story of other Ukrainians as well. It's just incredible. Thank you, Jane, so much. I appreciate you. I hope nothing but the best for you and your family. Thank you to all of you who support our channel, who support her channel. The links to her channel will, of course, be in the description. And I encourage you to go over there and watch her videos. She's an incredible woman. So please go support her as well. All right, everybody. Hope everybody's happy, healthy, and safe. Thanks so much for coming. I also want, before I go, I want to thank Trevor. Thank you so much for setting this up for me. This was very eye-opening for me, and I learned quite a bit, and I think I might be a better person for it. So thank you. Special thank you to you. All right, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Mark from the States, Mark from the States, it's Mark.